My name is Lloyd Kuvea, and I work as a research consultant for the Southern Africa Regional Office, and I cover 4 countries: Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and Namibia. Every year we publish this global report on the death penalty, looking at trends on the use of the death penalty as a form of punishment. We look at how many people are on death row in each country. We look at how many people have been executed in that particular year. We look at the sentences that have been imposed, death sentences that have been imposed. We also have statistics on which countries will have taken steps towards the abolition of the death penalty. So it's global in nature. It does not target any particular country. And it gives us global trends on the death penalty, and it assists us in terms of our advocacy and campaign towards the abolition of the death penalty in the world. So the key nuggets for us is that there's been a shift. A number of countries are going towards the abolition of the death penalty, maybe some for certain crimes, some for all crimes. But in countries that are autocratic, like China, the death penalty is not reducing, which is for us something that we are not happy with. And in countries like Vietnam, they have not been very forthcoming with statistics. In Islamic countries, the death sentences executions are still being carried out, which is for us a disappointment. Then you find in a number of countries, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, you find that the executions are not being done despite the fact that you have the death penalty still on the statute books. Executions are not being carried out. Zimbabwe is one of such countries. For the past 10 years, no death sentences. Zambia is another. For over 20 years, the death penalty has been there. Death penalties are being commuted to life imprisonment. So for us, you're beginning to see some changes. Countries like the Gambia taking steps towards the abolition of the death penalty. Guinea, taking steps towards the abolition of the death penalty. So we're beginning to see a variety of countries taking good steps. Of course, in other countries like Somalia, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, and so on and so forth, the death penalty is being used still. And in some instances, the death penalty is retained for political reasons, to settle scores with members of the opposition, and also in autocratic states, and China being the prime example where the death penalty continues to be retained. The countries that one would not expect, like Singapore, which is highly developed, still having the death penalty. I think it's also a legacy of the autocratic regime, which was more focused on economic development and not necessarily also looking at issues of human rights and human development. So in Botswana, I think we saw about this year there was one person who was executed. Last year there were 2 people. In Zimbabwe, no one has been executed. We've got but sentences, we had about 11 sentences. At 91 currently on death row. I think the total number of people on death row and it's about that have been executed. We've got 21,000 globally, which is a big figure. There was an increase from 2016 to 2017, so that is an issue of concern for Amnesty International. Especially the figures from China are the ones that have sort of increased the death sentences and death penalties. Our recommendations are that we want to do constructive engagement with states on a one-on-one basis. So, for instance, for here in Southern Africa, we have already met with the Zambian president to persuade Zambia to abolish the death penalty because they've got an official, a moratorium on the death penalty, and they've been commuting every year. They've been commuting death sentences to life imprisonment. This year, we want to meet with the Zimbabwean president to also encourage him or persuade this government to abolish the death penalty. We are doing the same thing with the Gambia as well, where there's a new president, also to encourage the abolition of the death penalty. So you find that in countries where there's a new leadership, there are opportunities there to start discussing possible ways of abolishing the death penalty. And obviously, we will continue to use our global death penalty report to encourage states that still have the death penalty. The launch of the report in Botswana was strategic because Botswana remains the country that is still executing. Just this year, one person was executed. And so the idea is if we launch a report there in Botswana, they look at the global trends as well as the community in Botswana looks at what is happening elsewhere, Botswana might be persuaded to join the group of countries that are moving away from use of the death penalty as a form of punishment. And you'll find also that in different states in the United States, there are some that are also moving away from the use of the death penalty, so that is encouraging, and we need to then continue. I think for us, the constructive engagement with states individually is a method that is working, and that I think will yield better results. We just want to give a message to the world that the death penalty is inhumane. Leaders should use justice to ensure that those who have committed crimes are held accountable and not use vengeance, because we believe that using the death penalty is almost like a form of vengeance where you are taking an eye for an eye, and that in fact there is no scientific evidence to show that the death penalty is more deterrent than perhaps life imprisonment. In fact, in the United States, in states where the death penalty has not been used, you've seen a decrease in the commission of heinous crimes. So we in our view, we just want to urge countries that are executing people to stop executing the death sentence, and that states that have an official moratorium should take the next step of abolishing the death penalty and ratifying the second optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights towards the abolition of the death penalty. That is our message, and that is our ultimate goal as Amnesty, to see the death penalty being abolished globally for all crimes.